the greatest driver for all of humanity's problems is desperate poverty, okay? And it would be vastly cheaper to just end desperate poverty, which could be done in extremely short order, than to keep feeding the beast. That's what we're doing. We're feeding the problems. We're maintaining the problems. We have to be honest as a civilization, as a civilized society, all around the world. In America, we can start here, set a shining. That's how, charity begins at home. Goodness begins at home, right? You set an example. But what we need to do is grab the bull by the horns, and we have to be honest. We have to say, yes, it's true. We get it. And then just be honest about understanding that the vast majority of jobs now surround the problems, okay? They're surrounded by maintaining the problems. They revolve around maintaining the problems. And if the problems in society start diminishing and drying up and dissipating, blowing away with the wind, for example, crime, if you just end desperate poverty, okay, and all these people that profess Christianity will say, oh my God, this guy believes in a minimum guaranteed income, he's welfare, and all this liberal nonsense, this communist, socialist. I know how their minds work. I'm a human being. I'm a thinking person, so I know. But I also know there's a lot of good-hearted, good-minded liberals out there. Socialists, they think they're socialists. They don't understand. If they learn about the history of socialism, it's been a miserable failure. So I'm speaking to everybody here. There's nobody I'm going to leave out of the loop here when it comes to trying to get across to people. I don't care what your philosophy and credos are. I'm just telling you, look, let's do our best to see through God's point of view. Just be honest. Say, what is it? Is there really logic and reason to be held here? Is this as simple as a mathematical equation to determine our reality, what our paradigm should be like, what God wants for us to please Him, to find true happiness, balance, and joy and success and prosperity and freedom? I mean, above all, freedom. That we don't have to answer to anybody. You should be free. And that's such a radical notion. But that's what a universal income would do if we just, there's more than one way to skin the cat here, folks. Okay? Who is anybody to tell you that you have to be born with a cost of living? If your God tells you no, you don't need to be, then you got to figure out a way out. You got to use your noggin, noodle it a little bit. And say, wait, I think I can figure this out. We work gradually in that direction, you see. But they haven't, again, who it is, I'm not going to go over who they are, again, right now. But you understand, these are not nice people. They're mean people. They're crooked. They're evil. They're diabolical. They're sinister. They act in a clandestine manner. And they're underhanded. They cheat. They steal. They thieve, they murder, okay? Nothing is beyond the pale for these people to do, to keep getting their way, just like murderers spoil bratty children. And they need to be put in their place by regular, everyday people. We have to stand up to them and say, look, you can shoot me in the head if you want, if you hate me that much, but, your time is coming. Good is going to end up taking over this scene. But one way or another, we got to confront these people. We've got to turn the other cheek, sure. Put the olive leaf in your mouth and like a big sweet puppy dog, get in their face and say, look, you're wrong about this. And if you keep denying it, you're going to self-destruct. You're going to hell on a rocket. Okay, that's what's going to happen. And they know it's true. They know that they can't continue to get their way forever and be this, this gaggle of a-hole murderers that are just, their blood-drenched hands of the innocent. They can't go on like this indefinitely. We have to put our foot down. But back to the economics class. Ask your economics teacher. Say, teacher, some clown I saw on the internet told me that, extreme poverty could be ended around the world in really short order, that there's no reason to have poverty because there's plenty of stuff out there. We have a willing workforce all over the world, and people just need a little direction, a little advice, and a little incentive. They need to eat, they need shelter, they need clean water, and then they'll do anything that people want. They'll build the infrastructures. You don't have to whip them. You don't have to make slaves of them. You don't have to debase them. You don't have to subjugate them. You don't have to enslave them. That people have an instinct that God gave them to serve their fellow man in some capacity, to not sit around being self-serving, decadent pissants. So ask your teacher that question in that context. Is it true that there's plenty that we could end poverty in short order with today's technology and the industrial age, and we could fly around the world in a matter of hours, anywhere halfway around the planet? Okay, do you understand what I'm saying here? So the fact is that there is. That is a matter of fact. It's indisputable. It's irrefutable fact that we could end extreme poverty. And so many Christians out there, they're against abortion and all this. And we talk, oh yeah, so we just need to change the law. No, what you need to do is make sure there's no financially desperate women. This is how Satan has been getting this plan over, okay, on us, that we've accepted it. Okay, when I see people with the intellect, I mean, I don't want to go start naming names anymore. Okay, I'm sick of it. But I see really smart people that think that high housing prices are a good thing. And I think, my God, am I in the twilight zone? Am I an alien? Am I really that much smarter than everybody else? How can they say that? What is the difference? Look up price in the dictionary. Look up cost in the dictionary. And tell me, are they not synonymous? So you're telling me a high cost of housing, high rents are a good thing. And these are people that I respect, admire, and look up to immensely. Much more courageous, braver men than I. Okay? And I see it, and it blows my mind. It's a bit disheartening. I'll have to be honest with you. But at some point, I mean, every man has to just, we're going to stand up one-on-one with our owner. So whatever you believe, just be ready to take those beliefs to Judgment Day, to the meeting your maker, okay? And answering for your beliefs. You're going to have to come up with some rationale, because God's not going to buy a lot of psychobabble rattling around in your head. But let's be very clear about this. A high cost of living is absolutely no better than high taxes. And the higher they drive housing costs, that means the higher the property taxes go. And then I'm hearing this from all these people that profess they are conservatives. Okay? Do you understand? I mean, I'm sorry, folks. I don't want to come off like an a-hole, but I feel like I do. And I'm sorry, because I don't want to be smarter or better than anybody. I really don't. I don't see any profit in that. I don't see if that would boost my ego for what. I don't give a crap. I want to do God's work. I just want to be a good, faithful servant. I've got amends to make. I've got dues to pay, okay? Because I'm a sinner too. I'm no better than anybody else. I don't want to be any better than anybody else. I'm a sinner. I confess it. I've murdered people in my heart. We all have. This is some of the stuff Jesus talked about. Anybody that holds a grudge and resentments against his fellow human being, doesn't forgive from his heart, in the sight of God, he's a murderer. The same with adultery. We're all adults. That's the point Jesus made. I mean, he said, yeah, it'd be better than if lust, pluck your eye out if you're going to lust after this woman, or cut your arm off. I mean, if you're going to do this, if it's going to lead you astray. But he also made it very clear that we're all adulterous. We all have been, at least. And when we confess that, we show mercy to others. With the measure we judge others, the same measure we too are judged. In everything. So if we're murderers and adulterers, all of us, I mean, what room is there for ego in this thing? I mean, God lays us low. He lets us get weak and fall. This creates humility, humbleness of heart and mind and spirit, so that we can go out and reach other people. Because you have to feel like the least of men. In our weaknesses, his strength is perfected. God has a way of making sure we know we're needy. That you don't need money. You don't need Satan. You need God that put the fruit trees on the planet and the fish in the sea, and on in that theme. Okay, it's God we need. We don't need other squat other than that. Okay? But we've got to know our place in this thing, that we're precious, and that we've got to go easy on others. If you want others to go easy on you, then you have to go easy on others. But we're not going to teach God a damn thing about compassion or mercy. We've got those things to learn. Forgiveness and judgment and condemnation, all these kind of things. He wants us to learn from him, our attitude about these things. Yeah, and I take issue with some of the stuff that I read in the scriptures, but I got to take it with a grain of salt and understand what's written at the very last chapter of the Bible, chapter 22 of the book of Revelations. That if you add or take away from this book, all these plagues are going to become on you. Well, it doesn't stop. A lot of these people, remember, they don't care about their soul. They would do such a thing. When I read a passage about Jesus saying, look, I mean, you've got to let go of everything to follow me. You've got to even hate your children and your wives and your husbands and all this. I take issue with something like that. That's taken out of context, that translation has been adulterated by who? What he meant was, no, the love we have for God, it's like the 2 new commandments Jesus gave that made all the others filled full. He said, I didn't come to get rid of the 10 commandments, the commandments that Moses gave, but he came to fill them full. And he did that by simplifying stuff for us and condensing them into those 2 commandments, to love God above all else, which is rightful. I mean, this is the guy that laid out the universe and all the galaxies and all the solar systems, all the habitable planets and all the flora and fauna on all those habitable planets, and all of us made in his image and likeness. He's super generous, and maybe we would be too if we were God Almighty. Why not? He likes to share. He likes to express himself. We're all expressions of God. He's living vicariously through us as human beings, and we can live vicariously through him. It's what he wants. That's the kind of relationship he wants. He wants us to understand our destiny is limitless. Our potential to understand and to perceive is limitless. We can do whatever we want. We should use this earth as our playground and demand that we be free from these money masters of misery. Say, no, we want to build a bridge 10 times as big and beautiful as the Golden Gate Bridge. We want to build a bridge to Hawaii. That's what we the people want, okay? And if you sons of bees don't like that, okay, that's tough, because that's the kind of energy and resources God gave to we the people. And so that's what we're going to do. And that's just an idea I just pulled up right out of my head right there. We're going to build a bridge to Hawaii, come hell or high water. If God gave us the imagination and the ability to do it, and we can do it. I used to live in the Florida Keys when I was 21 years old. I lived on Sugarloaf Key in a tent at a campground where we went down there with a girlfriend, but we broke up down there, so I ended up having to hitchhike to work in Key West. Started mowing lawns at a mobile home park there. I really like working outside, but it's going back a ways. Anyhow, I know I crossed the 7 Mile Bridge, and I think it's the longest span in the world. I could be wrong at this point. There's probably longer bridges, but that's going back 38 years. So quite a ways, quite a time. But anyhow, the point is we can do whatever we want. Okay, whatever we want. If you want to build a water slide that's 100 times taller than the highest one we have now, okay, that just lasts for a frickin' hour, you can go down the water slide. Do whatever we want. Artificial ponds and pools and whatever your mind can dream up, you can do it. Artificial reefs are one of my favorite for all the surfers out there. Okay, maybe we could even warm the water just in pockets where the waves are breaking so that it's pleasant. You can surf without a wetsuit. We could do whatever we want. Solar powered, right? I mean, there's just 1,000,001 ways. Look, Tesla energy proved that there's electricity in the air. We can just take it, use it, put it right back in. That's it. Free exchange. Okay, and that's what I could prove about wealth. That's why I say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm like the Tesla of economic principles. Okay, which is not a left-right conservative liberal thing. This is for all humanity. This is just something God put on my heart that I need to share. That we are together in this thing. Don't believe the lie that we're divided, that we can never learn to get along with each other. We can. God gives us that ability to do it. And we just have to seize it, accept it, and demand it and run with it and determine that's what we're going to have. We're going to have unity here in the land. We've got to work toward that. And say, I can get along. I believe these liberals. Okay, and remember, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. That whole spirit. I mean, look, people that believe in teasing and taunting and humiliating others as being the most effective way, fine. Then that's how you believe is the best way to reach you too. On the other side, if you say, well, I'm going to taunt, tease, and humiliate all these libtards, for example, then you got to understand those libtards thinking that they're more intellectual than you, that they're kind-hearted, they're more generous and socialist, which they believe is egalitarian, right? They believe that's an American thing, believing in equality. So understand that they can be very convicted in their beliefs just as you are convicted in your beliefs. So if you think the best method to win you over to their side is to taunt, tease, and humiliate, then you should expect the same thing you're putting out, right? Because if you're honest about thinking that's the most effective way, you understand? So, I mean, I don't know who I'm talking to, Paul Joseph Watson or, anyway, because, I mean, I respect these people, and I sure as hell don't want to have a battle of wits with a guy like that, because I believe he's very sincere, and I believe he's right about everything. His approach to reaching people, I think he could tweak